I remember the first time I met Bruce Dickinson, which was on the stage of the Hammersmith Odeon in London in 2004, which is insane because Maiden is my all-time favorite band. Live After Death, my all-time favorite Maiden record, was recorded at the Hammersmith, so it was a huge moment for me, and I'll never forget it. We were on our first filming leg of Metal Headbanger's journey, and there I was, meeting my hero. And you know, I was really nervous. I was new to filmmaking, I was new to interviewing, and I didn't know how it was going to go. But after a couple minutes of rolling camera, I realized that Bruce is an amazing guy who's super intelligent, super articulate, and so it made it a lot easier for me as an amateur at what I was doing. So, you know, people ask me, what's your most memorable moment after 10 years of doing this? And I gotta say, it's this moment, Dickinson at the Hammersmith Odeon, 2004.
Let's start talking about the lyrical content of Iron Maiden. One thing we're interested in is kind of culturally where metal comes from. And Maiden contains a lot of lyrics that deal with themes of European history, literature, and these kinds of things. I'd like to know why, Bruce, your thoughts on why is it that heavy metal is a suitable arena to talk about these themes?
If heavy metal was a movie, it wouldn't be a romantic, a romantic love story. You know, it wouldn't have loads of dialogue in it. It would have lots of action, and lots of action and drama. It would be a war movie, or it would be an epic story of the struggle between good and evil, with plenty of Dungeons and Dragons thrown in. You know, it would be Troy, but better. Troy, the real story. So it lends itself to that, and on the other hand, it also lends itself to severely, sleazy hard rock, blues type, the AC/DC kind of thing. A Maiden comes, I suppose, really from a desire to do something different, because every time, if you're into metal, what you do is you start a band, and you immediately, if you want to start writing your own stuff, what you look at is what's out there at the moment, and you think, well, how can I be a bit different to that? I really like that band, but I also really like that band too. So you think about gluing a couple of styles together. It's just like every other kind of, whether it's painting or whatever it is. You like two or three things, and you think, well, how can I reconcile those? And in Maiden's case, you look at what Steve was into, and actually when I joined, what I was into as well. Steve was really into a lot of sort of prog bands, but really into the real energy and aggression of metal as well. So gluing Genesis and Jethro Tull, in terms of the lyrical conceits and stuff like that, onto really aggressive metal stuff seemed to make sense. Nobody else had really done that up till that point. A few Thin Lizzy were sort of on the edge of being a bit poetry-ish. Rush were pretty much there in terms of their sort of high concepts and things, but Rush were complex, but they weren't really in your face. And Maiden was a really in-your-face band, and it was just the gluing together, the fact that you could have an hour's song about poetry, an hour's song about poetry, and Maiden would do that, and people would go, whoa, and it's like, why can't you be heavy with that? So why can't you be heavy with Samuel Taylor Coleridge,
And obviously one of the most important symbols in the history of metal is arguably Eddie. And tell me about the significance of Eddie, or what does Eddie represent for Iron Maiden?
Well, what Eddie represents for us is probably different to what Eddie represents for the audience. I've only ever seen Eddie as a as a member of the band. So, you know, I see him as a huge figure of entertainment. He's almost like an alter ego for the band. As a band, we're not. We don't do most of those heavy metal type things. There's no suggestion that we are the same as necessarily our audience, even if the audience was all identical. But there's always a certain, I suppose, almost inverted snobbery on the part of, you know, the press and things like that. For example, if you know, if you turn up, well, back in the day anyway, you know, if your image is, you know, yeah, I'm a loud, crazy rocker, and suddenly you turn up and you got a wife and 2 kids. It was like, gotcha, you're not really a loud and crazy rocker at all. You're a fake, gotcha. You know, your music's all crap, utterly worthless, your whole life written off because you had a wife and 2 kids. You know. And Eddie's great because we don't have to pretend at all. We don't have to play this game whereby we can't be who we are. We can be exactly who we are. I say, you know, people say, you know, oh, you're 46 years old. I say, yeah, I'm 46 years old. Yeah, no word of a lie. I've got 3 kids, live in the burbs, do a couple of jobs outside school, you know. What's your point? Because I don't have to, you know, go out with a raft of piercings and covered in head to foot in tattoos, not because I want to, but because I have to somehow maintain the image, you know. And Eddie does that. Eddie does that on our behalf. In fact, he does it so much better than we could ever do it, and he can do it for eternity, you know. When we're all so haggard and crap looking that we'd never dare put our pictures on an album cover because people would laugh, we could still be making decent music and just put Eddie on the front.